Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here, back with Cardano Craic weekly live stream, joined by Paddy as usual. A different time today. I had something on with the kids yesterday evening, so couldn't make the stream, but great to be able to bring Paddy on today to get the usual catch up on Cardano and everything else that's going on. Paddy, welcome.
Hi Paul, what's happening? How's it going? It's a bit early for most people, I'd say. And they wouldn't be used to seeing us at this time.
It's wait.
They wouldn't be used to seeing us at this time.
I know, yeah. I suppose it depends on the part of the world. It's probably getting late in Australia, out in Asia. America might be just waking up. Europe, potentially on lunch at the minute. So we'll see.
Could be the perfect time.
Could be convinced to do this more regular. It would stop me being given out to when I come in so late after our streams on a Wednesday night. Trying not to wake everyone in the house. But welcome everyone. See Kieran there talking about ADA and Milk. We will talk a little bit about them. I done a stream yesterday looking at some of the tokens too. Alex, great to have you as usual here with us. Great you can make this time too. Hope the holidays last week was good. I know you said you were away then. And a few comments on ADA. Crazy Crypto Scab, good to see you here too. Let's go through a few of these comments, then we'll get into the topics that we have. So ADA and Milk, we're going to look at when we bring up tap tools. We'll take a few comments on them. Then Alex says just about ADA has less than 5 million TVL, DeFi Llama, and 26 unique users. Yeah, I think a lot of people are speculating on what ADA is going to bring with pools lending right now. If you looked just at what they have right now and the amount of users, I would say the price right now is overvalued, but a lot of people are speculating on what's going to happen when they bring pools lending, and it attracts a lot more.
There's a site for that, Paul. What do you call that site?
For which now?
You know the site that we were used to track the transactions?
Oh, dApps on Cardano? Is that the one? That looks at the smart contracts interactions.
That's the one.
So Jed, TVL down 13.2% over the past month, while Indigo, yeah, actually a lot of these comments are the stuff we're going to go through. So we will touch on the TVL and Jed, Indigo. Indigo's been doing very well over the last while. Even the token price has done very well for Indigo. Crazy Crypto Scab, welcome. When you see the market value of these Cardano projects, you get the feeling so much opportunity out there. Yeah, there's definitely lots of opportunity. Some of them at the minute, when you see what's happened over the last month or two, then now mightn't be the time to go too heavy into them, but some of them are definitely worth DCA into. It's 5 a.m. in Calgary.
Alex never sleeps.
No, he's actually in Rome. Hope Rome was nice in an airport lounge checking in. Good to have you in. Hopefully we help pass a bit of the time while you're waiting for your connection.
Yeah.
Yellow Hill says this time will be perfect for me so I can listen while working.
Awesome.
Julio, what's up? Yeah, potentially, look, we don't share that much on the screen. Generally, we talk through everything we're sharing on the screen. So maybe podcasts for people to listen to during work, if they can put up with listening to us for the hour or so, could be good. But you want to bring up your screen? What do you want to kick it off with? And actually, just before anyone that's in, please do give the video a like, share it out. Helps bring others in, especially when we're at an unusual time. And if you have any questions or anything, throw them in. If you're new, we try and interact as much. Some of the questions that can bring up some better topics even than we had planned on it, but it's a fairly open stream and anything goes.
Oh, yeah. Throw anything out there and we'll talk about it. So I wanted to start off with markets. A little bit boring, isn't it? We have been sideways. I call this as anything that doesn't move more than 10% is sideways for me. We're testing support here at the minute on a bit of a lower low. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm thinking things will turn around once the debt ceiling changes. So it's sort of fed into overall global markets. If you look up the news today, a lot of stocks and bonds are being hit by the delay in the decision over the US debt ceiling. If anybody doesn't know, it's where they basically print more money. I was going to go into the technicals on how much money they can spend, but basically they turn the money printer on the turbo and add hundreds of billions that they can spend. But if they don't do that, then all of their sort of government jobs, everybody who works for them, don't get paid. So, and they would also default on the majority of their loans. So I highly doubt they'll do this. It's more than likely that they will agree to increasing it. It's just a matter of what's going to be sacrificed on each side between the political parties. I'd say once that's resolved, we will start to see the market move. Now, if they don't resolve it, that's going to be, I don't even know what to think of what could happen there. It's going to be very, very interesting. It would have a global impact, and crypto would also be impacted also. It is a risk sort of asset. So I would think that a lot of people and a lot of players that are in would be risk off. Some might think the opposite, that people might run to Bitcoin if it does happen. But I don't see that happening in this scenario. What's your thoughts on it, Paul?
Yeah, I can't see them defaulting on it. I think there will have to be some last minute deal. It's definitely having an impact on the markets right now with everything that's going on, the uncertainty. And as you say, when you look across the traditional markets, that gives you an idea that it's not just something in crypto, but there's too much dependent on the US debt. It's not just that this is the debt that the US owes. There's a lot of knock-on effect. There's lots of loans and everything taken against US debt. And if they default, I wouldn't like to see it happen. Potentially is going to happen at some point in time. But right now, I don't think there's anyone set up for that type of thing to happen.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, it's impacting ADA, it's impacting all crypto. There's nothing out there that I could see that is doing well. And there's a few. I was looking at Litecoin throughout the week. There was a lot going on over there, but there's nothing that I'm seeing. Now, a lot of people look at a lot of lower caps for trades and stuff, but most of the players that I play with aren't doing much at the minute. They're all following the same trend. So it's just got to wait and see. It's too big of a decision for swings to happen. The only thing that I would say might happen is closer to a potential deal, you might see market movements with people beginning to bet on what might or might not happen. So some of them could be fun to play, but not financial advice. So I was reading Financial Times earlier, so that's where I was checking the stock markets. Everybody, not just crypto, is suffering from this. And it shows you, a lot of people for a long time said the US is impacting blah, 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 and it's getting taken over and the dollar's going away. And it shows you still how important the US is to the world economy. And it has such a massive impact on everything. And so that's why I've always been an advocate that the US isn't getting weaker. They might look like it, but they're still the biggest catalyst.
Yeah, actually, Alex makes a good point there as well about the Fed minutes came out yesterday. So this is from the meeting last month. And there was talk in it that maybe we haven't seen a pause yet on the rate hikes. And this is a really good site that I follow for keeping up to date. It kind of looks at the sentiment of what people's expectations are going to be for the next rate hike. At the minute, it's 69% are weighing in that we won't get a rate hike. You can see here 500 to 525 is where we are. There's no one really betting on a cut in this one. And then there's 30% looking at maybe a 25-point rate hike. So this is it can change very quickly. Something could come out next week and it can have a drastic impact on this. But this is one that I generally like to keep an eye on at least once or twice a week. I just going to see what it's standing at the minute. And see Pete there. What's up, Pete? Good to see you in there. If we do end up doing this time of the day more often, I think it's a better time for you than we've done before. I'm not sure, but we'll have to catch up fairly soon and have you back on again. So Crypto Scab says about Paddy, you looking at the latest meme coin Joker, gonna have a punt. Meme coins, I thought they were dying off, but they seem to be pushing back up. They're not dying off yet. Some of them have actually had a fairly decent pushback in the last few weeks. I think we're going to talk about tap tools in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to all the meme stuff in here in just a minute. Just to finish off this article. So was I sharing this? So that's the one. If you want to read, the Financial Times has a good one on. I'll send all these links, Paul, so you can stick them in the section below it as well. It's a good read. Have a coffee, read through it. Basically, everybody's hurting from this indecisiveness. So we'll see what comes of it. I'm hoping. I was sort of hoping for something by the end of this week, today or tomorrow. It's a long weekend, I believe, and they run out of money on the 1st of June. So there's Tuesday and Wednesday of next week for them to maybe resolve it, but you would like to think that they would get it done this week. I think in the past there has been times where it's been agreed one day before. Most of the time it's a week, so it's less than a week now. It's a week today actually, so hopefully that gets just changed. And just to touch on the politics, not that I know anything about US politics, DeSantis is launched his Republican candidacy. That's what people call it. But he's actually been pretty pro-crypto of anybody that I've seen who's sort of going for that. I don't know about Trump, and I don't know Biden definitely isn't, because he's letting his friends sort of attack crypto all over the place. But I'm not for any side, by the way. I don't care about politics. But if someone's pro-crypto, I would sort of vote for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we see Kennedy as well. I think, was he at Bitcoin Miami? And,
was he?
Yeah, but some good points on that as well from people were that, take what a lot of these people are saying with a grain of salt. They're looking to bring in votes, so they could be extremely pro-crypto if they're at a crypto event, and if they go somewhere else that's against crypto, they might remain slightly positive on crypto, but it will be a lot more subdued and talking about other ways that they will be bringing in to look at it and curtail some of what's going on. Yeah. And Paddy, there's definitely something about bringing you on the stream. You can see my camera has stopped again. My stream yesterday, no problem. Any interviews I do, no problem. So there's something with you, but
yeah, I'm technically interfering with you.
Yeah, just on this one here with China as well, starting to accept Bitcoin back. Thoughts on Cardano and other altcoins getting into China, or will they block them with their own digital currency? To be honest, I've kind of got sick of following what's happening with China in terms of cryptocurrency, because they ban Bitcoin 1 month, a few months go by, they say, oh no, it's actually good now, and then they'll ban it again. I don't know how many times they've banned it at this stage.
I miss those days. They were great for trading. I used to be they banned it again. Yeah. News just comes out, putting along in. Because generally what would happen, it would drop, and then it would go back up. It was good money made those days.
Right, I'm just fixing up the camera here anyway.
You're broken. Well, anyways, that's DeSantis. Let's see what happens. But yeah, one thing I was going to say about that, you're right. When people go to these places and say they're pro something for votes, I used to remember a lot of presidents that when they get to like Boston and Chicago, they always say that they're Irish and always have some form of Irishness in them as a way of pulling in apparently the Irish vote. Maybe not there as much anymore, but it used to be.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in the US, a lot of people around the world have connections to Ireland because of immigration that happened. Even for such a small country, the amount of us that are spread all around the world is crazy. Alex says here about the US bank deposits fell from 18.13 trillion in April 2022 to just over 17 billion, over $1 trillion withdrawn in the past year. The banking Ponzi is collapsing, looking like basically a slow motion bank run. People aren't trusting banks as much as they used to, especially smaller banks. Like right now, I definitely wouldn't like to be holding my funds in a smaller bank. When you look at what's happened with a few of them over the last while, I know they've been bailed out, but that can only go so far. They can't keep doing that either.
We need a global crypto-friendly bank. That would work.
Yeah. Right. What have we
All
got
right.
next?
Let's be
Actually,
done with the markets and what's happening and what's impacting everything at the minute. So we can go into TVL.
I missed one comment here from Eduardo. Thoughts on Ergo? It's one I had the team on maybe must have been nearly 2 years ago. I had them on the channel here now. So it's a project I don't follow it closely. I keep an eye overall of what's going on, but I probably need to do a deeper dive into it now fairly soon. For anyone new, it is a proof of work chain, but they do things a bit different, and they are using a lot of similar models to Cardano, apart from Cardano being proof of stake and Ergo being proof of work. I don't know if you've looked into it much, Paddy. I will put that down to catch up on Ergo and try and get something out over the next, I won't say next week, but the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll try and put something out.
Yeah, it's just not been on my list. And I know a lot of people here are massive. I'm not for or against it. It just isn't something that I'm in. But TVL, how are we doing? We're a bit, a little bit sideways. It's surprising. There's a lot of activity within Cardano at the minute. A lot of meme activity, yeah. A lot of hype around a lot of the DeFi projects that we have, but the hype isn't reflecting the growth, I don't think. And everybody can throw in their opinions and see what they say. And that's sort of related back to what someone messaged earlier about ADA. It's a bit hype-ish. And I have a bit of ADA. I have had for a long time. And I have a good number of projects. So I sort of pick a scattergun approach. I'm no trading expert on those. So it is interesting to see. It's a weird mix. It is, in all senses, it's good for Cardano. What do you think, Paul?
ADA, I think, have been very solid in their development so far. Pooled lending is going to be the big one, I think. Personally, I wasn't that interested in the peer-to-peer lending and using the platform, but I will be a customer for their pooled lending and what they're doing there. And I think they've built a good community. They have built a solid reputation, even though we haven't seen, for me, what will be the bulk of their protocol going forward. And that's really why we're not seeing that many users of the protocol. When you look at the monthly stats and the number of loans that are going through, there's a very high APR or APY there for people that are taking out loans or that are providing their liquidity. But for me, when I want to do it myself, I always want to see is there instant liquidity and be able to pull it in and out whenever I want, rather than having to set all of the individual terms. It does suit some people, and we'll wait and see what happens with the next one. I'm sorry I didn't get a bigger bag when it was lower down, but as a protocol, I'm happy to see it growing.
It's always the way, isn't it? Well, you can see in the last epoch, 327 unique accounts interacted with it, and that's nothing. That is nothing. Which to me is also a good sign. If they're hyped up so much with this amount of traffic, once they do, as you say, pooled lending will make it a lot easier, and it should get more popular, and that should be very bullish for it. The chart on it is definitely bullish. It's it broke out of this and has shot up. Now, I've seen a lot of people were thinking around 5 and then back down for another little runabout here, but it went straight through. And I generally look at the weekly and whenever I'm looking at things at this long term, but it's been soaring. So yeah, people talk about meme coin hype. Project hype is also the same thing that happens, and congrats to everybody, myself included, who's doing well out of this. Where will it go? Well, generally speaking, I think it can go a lot higher with pooled lending whenever you compare it to some of the projects on the likes of Ethereum. And that's a massive competitor to compare it to, but a lot of the projects are, 500, a billion in market cap, this is nowhere near.
Cardano DeFi still, there isn't a huge amount of usage going on in Cardano DeFi. If you started to break it down, you look at MinSwap has started to see highs over the last probably 2-3 weeks when you look at the volume of trading that's going on there. But the massive majority of that volume is in meme coins. You look at Snake, I've started to see that there is a better side to some meme coins. Before I would have looked at most of them are just pump and dump, but I start to see the amount of new people coming in, which is great to see. It's bringing new people into Cardano. Yes, they're coming in for the meme coins, but potentially even if you keep a small percentage of them, it's new people getting involved. Maybe they find other projects. Maybe people come in for Snake. They done their trading on it, then seen something like ADA or Milk has been doing very well lately. Wi-Fi has had a nice run. Potentially some of the people picking up that are ones that come into Cardano for the meme coins. Yeah. I'm not saying people should be going out buying them or anything like that, but they definitely do help bring new users into the ecosystem and get people used to how it all works too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you can see what will happen is, Snake's flying. There'll be a lot of people who will have joined Cardano because of it. And they'll make a profit. They'll put a bag to the side if they're smart enough. And they'll leave stuff in there to go with the fun of it. But that other bag, they'll want to use that and put that into what they'll look at as projects. The likes of AEA, the likes of, World Mobile, AGAX, anything out there that they think has a big community, a big following, it's investable, they'll go for that, and that initial draw, because I've seen a lot of guys, and I don't know if they're real tweets, are leaving Ethereum to invest in Cardano meme coins. They have money coming with them, and that's, some people think they're all bad. They are. A lot of funds sometimes do leave an ecosystem because of meme coins, but if they can bring people in from the outside, it's a really good thing for the whole ecosystem. And
it's a good test for Cardano's infrastructure too. With the massive volume and everything that's going on. For me, it's a good test for individual dApps and individual sites to look at what they need to be able to perform to when we do get into a bull run, because for me, that will be even bigger than what's going on right now in terms of volume and everything that's happening. Alex says here, and I actually did see some of these tweets too about Cardano DeFi FUD claiming that swaps take half an hour, and he's saying he guess people are scared and spreading lies. I think potentially that, but also people who come in new into Cardano, if they come in and tried to get into a meme coin and they tried to do their swap. So when you try and do swaps on other chains, you do your market order. If it's not going to go through there and then within the slippage that you've set, then the order will fail. Where on the Cardano dexes, when you go to put in a swap, the swap goes in, and if it can't execute at the current market orders, it will sit there waiting as a limit order. So potentially whoever was testing there, if they were legitimately trying to test properly, they put in a market order on a meme coin that shot up out of the slippage range that they set. So rather than failing like it would on other chains, it sits there as a limit order so that if the price does come back down, then it can execute. So that's one possibility, I would say.
Well, would you look at that chart in volume? So let's go look at some projects that we think are pretty cool, right? We'll not talk about Meld. We got Indy, right? It's done 400,000 ADA in volume. It has 2 million ADA in liquidity. Jed, it's less liquidity, but 450,000 volume on the daily.
I think that's on the 24-hour, just for anyone looking at that.
Yeah. And we have Min, it has 31 million ADA in liquidity and 560,000 in volume. Then you get this Sneak, 8.3 million in volume and 3.8 million liquidity. That along with ADA, they're pumping, and they will be obviously battle testing, the Cardano ecosystem and infrastructure massively. It's beneficial, but that is serious volume. But again, you bring that back to the likes of Ethereum, that's nothing volume. So I always think about it in that sense. I hate to say we're early, but we're not at the same volume. But it is amazing to see how that works, and what it's doing for the ecosystem. That's everybody interacting. That's transactions. That's people paying transaction fees, using projects. So I think Sneak is majority on MinSwap, so they should be doing pretty well in terms of transactions and stuff like that. So, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and even that's just showing the top 25. You do get other ones out there that you see for a few days might have some serious volume on them.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to tap tools, now when you try and click on view all, I think generally when you're sharing your screen, it'll just keep looping. So it's probably not worth even doing there now. But for other people to check after, you can go into view all there in the top right and look at the volume there. But if you are doing that and trying to find new projects, you might see some that have lots of volume, or they might have a decent bit of volume, but always check the liquidity, because the liquidity, if there isn't much liquidity on some of the tokens, then what you'll see is that it doesn't take a lot to move the price. You might see some of them are up by 50, 60% in the last 24 hours. But if you look at the liquidity and there isn't much, then potentially it was only a few thousand ADA that was able to move that price. Questions here as well on Crypto Scab asks, any Cardano NFTs like Ape Society? Unfortunately, I don't hold Ape Society. I was looking at it early on and was trying to pick out my cabins and all set to buy into it. And then there was a lot of people came in from ETH at a good few months ago now. This is back when Ape Society would have been under 2,000 ADA. That's when I was looking at getting in. All of a sudden, it went from 2,000 to 10,000 ADA within the matter of a week or that, when people started to ape into it. So I didn't get my hands on it, but I do follow the project. I really like what they're trying to do, trying to innovate, bring things a little bit different into it. I see Pete says there about their SIP68 passport, pushing innovation and what's available to them. So that's, as far as I know from it, you can link NFTs from other chains into your passport on the Ape Society passports. I'm not sure if you can do other stuff with them then, but anyone that knows, let me know below. Or Pete, when you're back on, you can explain all of that type of stuff. Outside of that, for NFTs, I'm not a massive NFT collector. I do hold, I suppose Kopi is the one that I hold a decent few in. The land, I own some custom domes and some land because I want to be able to build when it does go live. I hold other small bits and pieces in the NFT space, but none of the other really big projects right now. Paddy?
Well, what I think might happen actually is we're still in meme season, I would say. Maybe some people thought it was over, but you look how long NFT season went on. It went on for 2-3 months. Memes, I would say, has been going on a month. So I don't think we're anywhere near done. But what's likely to happen is one of two things. We'll either go back into a DeFi, which is what I'm leaning towards, or NFTs might make a big comeback. I'm not sure which is going to happen, but I would lean on DeFi. And the money from these meme tokens will go somewhere. People get a bit burnt out, they de-risk, they take their money and they put it somewhere to try and get a new gain. So whenever you see something start hyping, I would try and see what's going on. NFTs, I'd like to see them, come back and do what they were doing, but it needs a bit of a cool off.
Yeah, I think it's changed a little bit, and the people are looking, what else can the NFT do now? What's the utility behind it? Which isn't a bad thing. That there isn't so much pump and dump, like new NFT comes out, 10K collection, gets sold out within an hour, unless there is some serious team members behind it with a track record, or they've done a lot of work before the mint. You don't see that kind of hype right now. I think meme coins will bring funds back into the NFT space, though, because you see even some of the projects, people getting into meme coins are very big into the NFT space. So it is going to bring some more liquidity back into the NFTs too.
Yep.
Another comment there about the Cardano transactions taking days. Imagine they have order pending because of price change. Yeah. That's the point I was saying about the orders converting to a limit order. Maybe I could do a video with a big clickbait headline about how bad transactions are on Cardano and get people to watch it and explain it.
A big posy face, like, you got to be dramatic.
3 days later, still hasn't sold. We'll say, but then too many people watch thumbnails and summarize a video on them. That's why I've never went the clickbait approach.
Yeah. I would end up having to make a meme out of it anyways. Right, let me see. So milk. Anybody know what's been going on with milk? I was I was trying to do some research. I know voting's going on, and I know they announced a new project. They didn't give much on it, and that was May the 11th. And it's been pumping pretty well from just after that. And I know the vote went on. It's correcting a bit, but what happened? If anybody knows, let us know. I'm interested. No, I'm not a big follower of MuesliSwap in terms of what they're doing. I use their protocol a lot, but that's about as far as I know about them. So if anybody knows, do let us know. Do you know anything, Paul?
No, I'm not sure what's caused the big move in it. I did see about the voting, but I'm not sure why that's enough to. They did talk about that project. I seen that post, but that was back on May 11th, and it was nearly a week later before the price started to really rocket up. So I don't know if there was other leaks or something else has happened there. Like you, I use the protocol, but don't follow everything that they're doing. It's a protocol that's underappreciated lots of times for what they have done and built.
A lot of you'd say whales are doing pretty big buys over the past couple of days, which could be a coordinated pump. I don't know. You can see by the looks of these portfolios.
One thing that's interesting is when I started to look through, I was looking through ADA to some of the bigger whales there, and started to notice that some of them were starting to pick up Milk token over the last week too. So potentially people are looking at the DeFi projects are moving and trying to diversify across a few different DeFi projects or protocols on Cardano.
Oh yeah. That whale there is, a lot of ADA worth of value in there. And it's sold, it's Milk, but who knows? Whales are playing with that one. I just wanted to bring it up. So we might have to do some research for next week and see what's actually going on.
Yep.
Now, just to move on, any questions or anything, do let us know. Let me just bring up my next one.
Milk Meta seems like a real money testnet. We haven't seen a huge amount launch over on Milk Meta yet, but it definitely could be a very good testnet for people to try out their protocols. You can, as it's EVM, it's a lot easier to build on right now than building directly on Cardano, and kind of links into what you're actually getting into with Chainport, with bridges. Bridges are becoming more accessible for Cardano, and you can move straight across from Milk Meta to Cardano. What they're doing with Paima is interesting. I keep meaning to reach out to Sebastian. Let's try and bring him back on to get the latest on what's going on over there. And I've seen they're getting a lot of traction with Paima, the Paima engine for gaming that they're building.
Well, but gaming is a good area for them to go down. I know they have Milk Meta, but a project's perspective, it hasn't really taken off. There's been a few, but it just hasn't. I don't think it exploded like they thought it would have. They did get out of the brilliant time, so I'm surprised it hasn't. But just people didn't fancy it. I don't know why. Now I think the gaming side will be massive for them, so that's definitely a good pivot. And using that alongside Milk Meta is going to be awesome for them. So, and gaming and crypto is newish. It's ongoing. There's not been any blockbuster style games come through or mass audience. That's one problem with the gaming side. Daily users. But I'd love to see them, be successful in that area. So I'll have a look at them for next week. Yeah, Paima, not Paima, Chainport. Oh, sorry about that. They're bridging tokens. So, Paul, what's happening here? What are they going to be doing?
This is basically that you can move your Cardano assets into other chains now. People who are familiar with Cornucopias and the Copy token, it started on Binance. It was a BSC token. And Chainport were the first ones to open the bridge to allow you to bring your Copy tokens from BSC over to Cardano. But it was very limited, and you couldn't bring many assets or many from Cardano out to other chains. When I went into Chainport this morning to take a look at it, when you connect up your Cardano wallet, Some of the ones that you can move out, or the main ones, are Copy. You can move it from Cardano out to Ethereum, or I think to Binance, and you can also move Zed. So that's what Zed announced probably last week or the week before, that they were going to be going multi-chain, but the minting and burning will still happen on Cardano, but you'll be able to move your Zed out to other chains. I think right now the circulating supply of Zed is still too small for to be used much on other chains either. There's just not enough liquidity in it, but it'll be interesting to see what assets are added to Chainport. As far as I've heard, any Cardano assets can be added. There's some other ones there in the drop down when you go to look at it, but I'm not familiar with them. And Pete actually says here, rumors that the multi-chain team have been arrested in China. I've seen, so multi-chain is another one of the biggest bridges out there. They have talked about opening up a bridge for Cardano too, that you'll be able to move in and out of Cardano with lots of different assets. It's one I was looking forward to, but I did see some, again, rumors, didn't get to do the research into it, and that potentially leaks that I think it was going to Phantom, that there was some of the assets that were moving to Phantom may have been accessed, but I haven't been able to do the research into that. So Pete says there it's 1.8 billion. Presume that's the amount of assets that they've locked. That's a big amount of assets that are locked with their bridge. They're one of the main bridges for moving from lots of different chains over to other ones. So
there's Chainport tokens that you can move. Is Jed and Copy. I don't know what this is. OTM. But it would be interesting to move Jed somewhere, and they might use this. Maybe it's something that's been going on for Jed to be able to migrate it out, and maybe a possibility, a way of migrating liquidity in to buying Shen. I don't know if that's going to be added there, but that would be one incentive. So, it would be interesting to do a little video on that, Paul. That give you an idea for a Paul video to bridge some tokens and see where they end up on Ethereum?
Yeah, could do. I still have some Copy tokens on Binance too that I just haven't ported across yet. So
why can't I move Cardano? I want to move it onto Ethereum. It's better, isn't it?
I'm surprised it's not there yet. But why would you want to move your ADA to Ethereum? Pay higher fees for every move that you do then?
Yeah, I prefer the higher fees. It's better.
Pete says here, I think this was back to Paima and Milkmaida. They're launching their tower defense game this week or next week.
Awesome. I love tower defense games, actually. They're pretty cool. Right, so that's Chainport. The big thing for it is to see what actually happens with this and see where it goes. The Jed part, I'm hoping, they'll start Jed getting used elsewhere. Who knows? Be interesting to see. But at least the bridge is there. Been asking for something like that for quite some time, actually. So let's see. Any other bits to add on Chainport, Paul?
No, I'm just going to bring up my screen here. I was just looking for multi-chain. Again, everyone needs to research this themselves because this is kind of something that's just happening now. Let me see my window.
Is this breaking?
It's kind of over the last, I seen it a few hours ago. But you can see here they're talking about, so rumored that multi-chain team has been arrested by Chinese police, $1.5 million of contract funds under control. Some team members transferred multi-tokens from the team address to Gate today. Be aware. Just in, due to multi-chain situation, Binance has temporarily halted deposits. I'd seen there was another one there. It's gone now. There was another post that came up, but this was looking just on the search. So there we go, Pete. Thanks for resharing that one. So yeah, something going on with multi-chain. I'd be very careful. The multi-token has dumped 30% already. If you've got funds on it, that's always the risk with bridges, is that you do put your funds at risk when you do it. Traditionally, what happens with a lot of the bridges is that your funds get, say you're moving from Ethereum to Cardano, your funds get locked in a smart contract on Ethereum, and then there's a version of that created on Cardano.
if something happens to funds that are locked in the smart contract on Ethereum, then there's nothing to back up the tokens you have on Cardano. So they become fairly worthless at that point because there's no real token to back them up on the other side. With Chainport, the reason I like them, I'm not saying they're fully safe either, but they use a lot of cold storage. So they store, I think 90% of their tokens are stored in cold storage. So if something happens, that there is a hack on their contracts or something, it's not all of the crypto that actually gets stolen.
So I'm just checking, is there, at around 1:45 this morning, might have been, I would say close to 24th, 25th. Yeah, a bit of a dump of BTC in and around when that started happening. Yeah, multi is down 13%. If they have been arrested and it's a long-term thing, that could be worth a short. I wish I had known earlier, but who knows? Let's see what happens there. I just want to go back to here and share the BTC. So I'm guessing that news is what caused the BTC sort of bit of a crash here, a bit of a dump. Something definitely dumped it. Who knows? Who knows? Hopefully, I hate to see projects fail with that amount of money. So hopefully it gets resolved happily.
Yep. All right. What have we got up next then?
We got 2 articles, if I can remember. Yeah. Let's start with this one. Is the you tweeted that you're doing some detective work, Paul.
Binance, yeah.
Binance has removed most of their ADA. So what are they doing? Are they leaving us?
I don't know. They've removed most of their ADA. I don't know if you have the Sea Explorer link of the groups or not. I can send it to you anyway.
Yeah, I'll grab it here.
So it looks like they have unstaked the majority of their ADA. I don't know that they have something close to 2 billion ADA sitting in all of the stake pools that they had. And over the last 3 weeks, they have been withdrawing it. They took a big lump out. Then when I looked at this, I seen the night before that they had taken out a big amount of ADA out of different pools, unstaked it. They seem to move a lot of it into one different wallet. So I don't know if they're restructuring their wallets, if they are going to stop offering ADA as a staking option. It was interesting. I went straight on to Binance to check. You can see one of the screenshots there shows that they are still offering staking on Binance, or they were 2 days ago when I or 3 days ago when I posted that. I presume they still are now. But it'll be interesting to see what they actually do, because they were the biggest, or one of the biggest operators of Cardano stake pools.
Yeah, I'm just going to get them up. So it's 2.34. I'm just finding them here.
So do we think the unstaking could be akin to what Binance did in terms of no longer? I actually sent that group's link to you in private chat, just on the stream here.
Yeah.
To avoid SEC coming after them. Well, Coinbase didn't actually stop offering staking either. They're still, I think they're known as, are they Avengers on the Cardano groups?
Well, we have a Binance group here, and they hold 2.34% of the overall stake.
Well, no, that's the number of pools that they have on the right. So on the left there, in the top left, it was by stake. So you can see they're gone out of that. So single stake pool operators are the biggest one then. Then you have Avengers with 8%. And as far as I know, Avengers is Coinbase.
Okay.
So Coinbase are still offering it. That's what makes me think that Binance will come back in. It's been very good for the MAV of Cardano. It doesn't show it up on top. I think it showed it at one stage. Someone posted a screenshot. It was about 34 last week. And that was Binance hadn't pulled everything out. But I don't know what it's at right now.
I got it. They're
Yep.
They're down to 300 million. So they were up at 2.8 billion. And then they dropped down to 2.7. And then since 10 epochs ago, roughly, a month and a half, they have been dropping that down pretty significantly. That's a huge amount. What could it be caused by? Could it be them removing their staking? Well, maybe. What they could still do is perform staking and earn on against their ADA. They could probably just remove their staking that they're doing as a function for customers, as a service for customers, actually. Whether or not they're putting this on the exchange to use, I would doubt. I'd love to say that was the case, that they're running out of ADA. I don't know if that is true.
No, I tracked some of the wallets and I could see there was at least one wallet had 2 billion ADA sitting in it.
Yeah.
And that was a few days ago. And it wasn't their hot wallet either. So it wasn't the one that they're using constantly for withdrawals. I tracked where one of the stake pools that they'd cleared out, where the ADA went. And it looks like they had been clearing out a few of the different stake pools into that one address. So it's not that they're running out of ADA. If it is something to do with the SEC, maybe they will only be staking ADA that the customers have actually opted into stake. Because if a customer hasn't opted in to stake their ADA on Binance, then Binance are earning based on that customer's funds. So there is potential conflicts there. That's how Binance are able to offer such high rewards at times when they do these promotions of 20% APY, where they have so much ADA staking that isn't even theirs. They're earning a lot of rewards on that. So they can afford to pay people higher rewards. And what it does is it attracts more people to deposit ADA onto the exchange in order to stake it to get the higher rewards. When that promotional period runs out, there's still a lot of people leave the ADA sitting there. They don't pull it off again to stake back themselves. And
do you know, the only thing they've left a little bit on all of the pools, around 5. Most of them have between 2 and 5 epochs worth of rewards. So since they started draining them down, they haven't been pulling these out, but they're not going to be earning any rewards anymore. But they certainly haven't redistributed that. They've left one pool, surprisingly enough. It is very interesting, and I'd love to check and see if all of those pools are still operational. I wonder if they made any blocks recently. It looks like no.
Some of them haven't, because they've been pulling it out over the last few weeks. So the ones,
that one did do pretty
an
well.
older one, yeah. So they have so many pools just sitting there doing nothing too.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, them ones they've only drained recently because they still made like 50 odd blocks, so the servers are still running. On a couple of them, I'd say maybe the older ones they might have got rid of. But very interesting. That is very surprising. They've had that 3 billion in for a very, very long time. Now is probably not the right time to sell if they're going to be selling it. But it is a very, very strange move. I'd love to see maybe someone from Cardano Foundation get talking to them to see what's going on. And a lot of stake pool operators like myself and you have wanted this to happen for a long time, but have wanted Binance to redistribute their ADA that they hold to sort of stake pools, call them in the community. So let's see where this goes. But it hasn't impacted the price all that much, so I don't think they're dumping it.
No, I don't think, and technically a lot of it isn't their ADA to dump. It should be, the majority of it should be customer funds. Obviously, we said there, they were earning lots of rewards on customer funds, so Binance does own some of it, but the big majority of it still should be customer funds. See, Dinesh says here that Binance removed all staking of all coins for UK customers. He can't get staking. UK customers, you can still stake if you hold the ADA yourself. You just can't do it on the platform. And Pete says here, they also stopped direct bank deposits and withdrawals in Australia. So they really are trying to, Binance really are trying to tighten up on the legal side of things for regulation. They're getting, coming under a lot of pressures. Even Bybit, which had grown to be a massive exchange over the last 2 years or so, weren't requiring KYC up until the last few weeks. They've now implemented that you have to have KYC. Up to that, I think they had withdrawal limits of 2 Bitcoin per day, something similar to that's what Binance used to have. So Bybit really followed the model that Binance had set out initially. When I started using Binance a few years ago, there was no KYC needed. You could just use it. And there was just withdrawal limits of 2 Bitcoin per day. And Crypto Scab says, being able to track that is the beauty of blockchain. Yep, I presume that was about being able to track where the ADA went, and even see this, who's staking and who's not. That's one of the big benefits of public blockchain. So anything else your side on Binance? Or
no, that's that. That was good detective work, Paul. They're gonna have the answer to you now. Well done.
Still waiting on CZ's reply, but it didn't come yet.
Yeah.
And actually, there was a site that someone pointed out to me with different reports, balanceanalytics.io, just for anyone who's into tracking that type of stuff. After I put out them posts, someone posted in the replies on that thread with links to it and different reports they're doing, monitoring stake on Cardano and how things are moving and flowing, new pools coming in or pools retiring. So it's a good resource for anyone who's interested in checking it out.
Yeah, certainly. Well, that's done on that one. Any more questions? Oh, is there another comment?
Oh, just Denise says he was the one that said about Binance. He wasn't able to stake. He said he's moved it to Fluid 7 pool, and staking on a pool actually feels really in control. Yep, the ADA stays in your wallet. Nobody else can access it. You are in full control. So if something happens to stake pool, your funds are still safe. They can never access your funds. Unlike when you're staking with a centralized entity, then they have control of your funds.
All right, our last bit of info. So the poll for the stake pool voting, on-chain voting, is finishing. Is it today?
Yep, the end of the epoch. Nice.
Yeah. So tonight, so it's pretty tight, and we've had a mediocre turnout so far. I must admit I haven't voted yet. I will get it done today, but I'm not going to impact this a lot, very much. 741. What's that? 1/5?
If you zoom in actually and just get it 2x2 for the votes, people will be able to see it a bit better. That's the one.
So we have 741 stake pools. So that's 1/5 of the amount of stake pools out there, and 10 billion. That is a significant amount of stake. What is that? Half? Around half. What are we at? 22 billion?
Oh, is it not 30? Or maybe Binance have changed that. I thought it was 30 something. Let me check.
That would be.
I'm thinking they're wrong. Oh no, actually, live stake 22 billion. Yeah,
that's good.
And that's down from 23 billion. That's Binance have made the big difference there. Circulating supply is 35 billion. So at the minute, there's actually 13 billion ADA not being staked.
So it's the total stake is also less than half of the all stake that's available. That's within Cardano, not even counting what's outside it. So it's interesting to me. I don't know what your opinions are, and I have a few questions, Paul. And one I'll start with is, what do you think about the vote, firstly, and then what do you think about the turnout?
The vote, I think it's good to see governance starting. I think they've probably learned lots of lessons from it, even outside what the vote is. Like you're doing the switch there on the parameters. I think there probably should have been 2 different questions here, one on K and one on the pool costs. There's lots to talk about the pool costs, whether it should have included margin. For me personally, I think getting rid of the fixed fee is going to be the way forward longer term, and having a minimum variable fee. So maybe setting that the minimum variable fee is 2%, and then it's up to pools. They can put more on it if they want, but have some sort of a minimum on it so it's not a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
That will be a more fair model then, because anyone who doesn't know how the fees work, there's two fees that happen. There is the fixed fee, which is currently 340 ADA. That 340 is taken out of the total rewards paid to a pool in an epoch, and that goes to the SPO. So it's not, no individual pays that rewards or pays that 340. That's a question I get quite a bit, and people thinking if they stake, they have to pay that. That comes from the overall pool rewards. And then there's a variable fee, which can be set by the SPO. They can set it to whatever they want. But at the minute, the minimum that they can set the fixed fee to is 340. Now, you see some pools do set this higher, so it's up to the pools, but I'd say 95% of pools leave it at 340. So this means that smaller pools do have a disadvantage in that if they're earning, or not if, they are earning less rewards per epoch, total rewards. So the fixed fee is a higher percentage of them total rewards. So that's why I think overall, and hopefully I'd say in the next vote, we'll see things like that coming in to maybe get rid of the fixed fee altogether. I think getting rid of that levels the playing field a lot better for everyone and let people set their own variable fee. Then at that point, it's going to be interesting to see the outcome on this. When I talked to Frederick there 2-3 weeks ago, he said that the outcome of this vote will be used as input into their next committee meeting. So that is, there's representatives from Emergo, from the community, from the foundation, and IOG, I think, and they'll discuss this and decide what's going to happen with the parameters. I think as well, the next one that needs to be looked at is A0, because if we go to K1000 now, that means that 1000 is the optimal number of fully saturated pools on the network. There's nothing to stop people spinning up as many pools as they want, where if you change the A0 parameter, which is pledge, that means that they have to have the pledge themselves to be able to spin it up. Now, you need pledge now, but setting 1,000 data as your pledge or setting 100,000 data as your pledge doesn't really make that much of a difference. So if you make that count, it means that people can't just keep spinning up more pools. Be interesting to see what exchanges would do at that point too. Would they keep being a part of this, or would some of them start to drop off if they have to actually put up a fairly decent pledge to fully saturate their pools?
So what's your money on, Paul? What's your money on here?
It depends how they look at. If they look at individual items, I don't see you're on the grouped one there. So if you look at that, the winner at the minute looks to be K500 and the minimum cost to 170. If you look at it without grouping the parameters and each of them has separate votes, then I think the K1000 and a pool cost of 170 looks like the winner. I don't see much changing at this point in time. There's not that many big entities left that could sway the vote by that much. I think there's 200-300 million in between the K1000, 170 and the rest.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be watching it for the rest of the day, hitting refresh to see what it's going to be like, and we'll be very interested to see how much weight is given to this in the committee. I hope that's fairly open on what happens and we get lots of transparency on what actually happens there and the process they use to take this as input into the committee and how it's talked about.
Do you know, the only thing that I would say is the number of pools is quite low, but I'm happy with the total stake. You know, it's not bad. I sort of would expect, hopefully by the end of the day, I would like to see it over 50% at least. I'd like to see turnout in and around there. But this sometimes is what you see in normal daily life elections, 40 and 50% sometimes in a lot of small things. With this, in my opinion, and to give my little bit on what I think is what should be happening, I don't agree with any of the options. Because it's a bit of a bandage over a problem that's been going on for 2 years plus. K increase and min cost increases are going to go on forever. This is not going to fix it. And a lot of people here are voting for K500 have used that as justification, where the AO parameter, and to make it easy for people to understand, is the amount of pledge that I put should impact, the performance of my stake pool. So if we had, say, K1,000, I can generate as many small pools as I want with maybe 100 ADA in each and get everybody to stake to them, and I start earning all the rewards. We don't want that. So there is a SIP 50, and I'll try and get the link for you and post it out, where it's to change a lot of this dramatically. As this is just same, but trying to make it easier. I don't know if you've looked at SIP 50, Paul, but it's sort of where I would prefer it to go, where your pledge has an impact. But even more dramatic is to remove the limit to a stake pool. What is it, 64, 65 million?
It's about 71 at the minute. It keeps
71.
creeping up all the time because it's the total circulating supply of ADA divided by the K parameter.
Yeah, so what about 71 million? And so look, you had 62 Binance stake pools, 62 servers minimum running, when they could have all that in one stake pool as pledge, or part of it as pledge, and that could facilitate their whole process. People are against that, but I think it's the best approach. Just because someone can attract millions more in ADA doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to do it. Then the way of combating, that becoming, everybody's going to then go to that one pool, that's where the pledge factor comes in, which currently means nothing. Hopefully it didn't get too technical for everybody. But yeah, it is an interesting process, but it's also awesome to see that the start of governance, an on-chain vote. So the system that we're all using, the stake pool operators like me and Paul, is going to be used in a more of an enhanced version later on of basically submitting a voting transaction onto the blockchain that then can be used to read how you vote. So I can't wait to see at some point in the future where every staker or delegate, if you want to call them, to stake pools will be able to vote on things. So currently, this is the SPOs voting, and a lot of them will have asked their delegates, what do you think, blah, blah, blah. But in the future, I would prefer the stakers to be in control of this. SPOs are a bit biased, I would say. This is a bit like, when they have in government where you vote on how much I should be paid myself. People are biased. They're like my boss asking me, what do you think you should be paid? Or everybody, and we all vote, I'm going to vote for the one that gives me the most money. But yeah, there's not what I'm doing, but I'm just voting that I don't like any of them. I'm a SIP 50 supporter. That's where I'll stand. But yeah, so it is a weird question, Paul. So let's see where it goes, and I would expect the foundation to mull over it for a period of time. Again, I think K1000 was meant to come in March 2021.
Yeah,
I'm correct in thinking. So it's a bit delayed.
It was meant to come back then, and then they decided not to do it because they said that something needed to happen with the A0 parameter first, that moving K at that point wouldn't have the full impact that potentially moving K to 1000 would have when A0 is implemented and actually works. It's not working like it was meant to. I think it's very hard. It's a double-edged sword on the SIP 50. I think A0 definitely needs to play a role, but there still needs to be a certain threshold that you can build. And this comes back to the comment here about, would it not make it difficult for new pools? And if you implement it, that I think there's a pledge curve for SIP 50, but what it really needs to do is make sure that people can open a stake pool with a smaller pledge, and this, especially when the price of ADA rises, that they can open it with a smaller pledge, but still be able to get a certain amount of stake into that they are producing a few blocks regularly every epoch, and having the level there. But if you want to really start pushing the size of the pool up, then that's where your pledge really needs to count, in that you need to have a growing pledge. Like, have your pledge curve kick in after a certain level. And when you take out fixed fees out of that, take them out like we talked about, take them out as part of the fees on stake pools, then there isn't the incentive to, some people would say, if you do that and you have fixed fees, then people could spin up multiple different small pools, keep getting the fixed fees. So that's why I think getting rid of that is definitely something that needs to come first.
Yeah.
Then implementing a zero pledge curve, that you still can have your smaller pool with a small pledge. You can be a part of the network, help decentralize it, and be guaranteed a few blocks every epoch. But if you want to start building bigger pools, then you need to have a good pledge for that. I don't agree on no cap though either. I think there has to be a cap at some level, whether that's 100 million or I think it was over 200 million when staking first started, when IOG ran most of the pools initially. But it's not something I'd like to be the one making the final call on, because there's good and bad to both sides of it, really. And
well, it wouldn't be it would be a no cap, but the cap is derived based off pledge. So if someone can afford to put $1 billion as pledge, they should be able to grow that. Highly, very, very costly. And I think I'd sort of lent on was a sort of soft cap at around 100 million. And after that, the multiplication of it was very, very dramatic, and where you would need to have to be 1-to-1 with every stake data, which I doubt would happen. But it could mean the likes of Binance could run one pool. Rather, you think about the wastage that they're doing there. So there's that part of it comes into it.
They can and they can't, because if they put the ADA as their pledge, then if they ever had a run where they need to be able to give out all the ADA, they can't do it because of the 2 epoch delay to making changes to your pledge. If you make the changes, you don't get blocks, or you lose, you don't get paid for minting the blocks. So there's the question. Like, we could go on arguing this. Well, we're not arguing, we're putting the points out there, but it's one that would be highly debated about when it does come in as one of the votes, because I do think it will be one of the votes, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see what way it goes.
I'd like to think this wouldn't be implemented without delegators voting. Now, people are saying, oh yeah, you're voting by staking to that pool. No, a lot of people don't take that into consideration. They've probably been with the pool for a period of time, and they might have moved stake prior, after, or post the stake pool, doing their vote, or they don't even know what the pool is voting. So I would prefer the wider community gets a vote on it. It's good to see the SPU input, and maybe that should go towards a weight towards the overall vote decision making. But the same vote should go to everybody who holds ADA. Is my hope for the future.
Yeah, I suppose they're looking at it that they've given 2 epochs for people to vote, 2 epochs then for delegators to move their stake if they don't agree with the vote, and then the snapshot happens. Well, like you say, I know there's people in pools that have staked 2 years ago, mightn't have looked at their stake since then, don't plan on looking at it. It's a long-term thing. So that doesn't work just for everyone. But you will have the same thing if you do open it up, that delegators can vote directly themselves. You're still going to have the same thing, that the delegators who have staked a year ago have moved away, don't look at their crypto, it's sitting on a hardware wallet or whatever it is. And like you talked about as well, in traditional voting, 40-50% turnout is generally in around where you're going to go. I think we should finish up around there. You will have some people waiting to see how the vote's going to be going last minute, and I'm sure there'll be lots more votes coming in today, but I don't see any drastic changes in it.
No. But yeah, it's cool, isn't it? I think for a long time we argued about governance and how it's going to happen and the dramatic nature of it, and everybody's going to be fighting, which is true. And one thing I wanted to point out on here was seeing stake pool operators attacking others because of their vote decision is ridiculous. I find it very distasteful. Have an opinion, but don't try and ridicule someone else's opinion. It's okay to disagree, but blatantly attacking them or calling them and saying they're behaving in a certain way, it's just childish. I like to think that we might have moved past a lot of that, especially with people, and it's predominantly been aimed towards people that have multiple pools. And there's nothing wrong with that. The parameters of Cardano state that you can do that. There's nothing hindering anybody doing that. Just because it doesn't fall with your own decentralized, sort of preaching, I would call it, and then fine, let them do what they got to do. You're only got to focus on yourself. So yeah, hopefully that goes away. And that is one dirty part of politics or governance that I think might creep in a little bit more. Whenever we start to get into more decision making, there's going to be groups like this that kick off. God knows what parameters we're going to vote on in the future. This is one important one, but there's probably going to be more things happening, and there will be different camps, but I don't want them attacking each other.
Yeah, you see social media crypto Twitter has become toxic. Some days you go on and it's getting fairly toxic in calling people out for what they voted for, what they've said, or explained why they're doing certain things. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and unfortunately, that's where these types of things always go. Hopefully, in the future, we can get past that and be voting for what's good for the network, what's going to play out well long term. But we'll see where it goes. And Pete makes a good point there that lots of people stake with certain SPOs for either benefits they're offering or to support the SPO they're with, and they're not going to be moving. So that does counteract or go against that. People will move their stake to be counted as a vote.
Oh, definitely. Some of the guys that are in mine they staked with me 1 year, 2 years ago. And there hasn't been a transaction, there hasn't been a move, there hasn't been an NFT, there hasn't been anything happening in those wallets. And they're probably exactly like you say, and they're doing the right thing. They're buying it, investing in it, leaving it there, and one day they'll come back to it as maybe a retirement amount of money. Who knows?
Yeah.
Do they care so much about the parameters or stake pool setups and all that? Yeah, they probably want to get their return every year. Now 3 to 4% isn't great, I'm surprised the stake percentage is held up, because there's a lot of other crypto incentives that you could do to get better returns if you were truly investing for returns, but it sort of conflicts the reasoning. So I fail to understand it. Maybe it's just a long-term A to hold position is the only thing that I can justify.
Yeah, I think Cardano definitely has a lot of long-term holders who are here for what they believe it can be long-term. So that definitely does help in keeping lots of the ADA staked. I'm looking at the time, we're gone over the hour. Hopefully people got some value. If you're listening in work, do appreciate you tuning in. Anyone who has made it through the replay or anything like that, then let us know times of the day, what works best for people coming in, listening. And the idea of these streams is, I suppose for me anyway, is I love being able to come on, talk Paddy, talk about different things that are ongoing, especially people getting involved in the chat. Really do appreciate that. I generally pick up new things in the chat, new projects, stuff like that to look to. And hopefully it does help people out. And everyone watching, subscribe, like, share it out. And we'll talk to you next week at some point. Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see what the feedback is.
Yep.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining in and engaging. Talk to you later.
Take care, guys.